Hello, this is Saturday, August 20th, 2022. I'd like to give everyone an update because a few things have changed. A brief overview. I was exposing child trafficking, drug running, gun trafficking in Harford County, specifically around the adult stores and the people connected to them. We were in contact with the sheriff directly since December 2021 and were instructed by him and his second in command and campaign manager, Eric, to send them any and all information we had about these subjects and the video store, the adult store. So we were doing that, and they arrested me for it. I've spoken on here several times about Detective Daddy Bear. He's fake. He absolutely is. And yes, he did harbor a fugitive in Tennessee. That's all been confirmed by other investigators and law enforcement now. But I was charged with filing a false police report and a second charge of false statement to a state official. Same thing, different version. It's absolute garbage. We've had experts in law enforcement look at the statement. It looks like it was written by a 3-year-old. But what do you expect? He's a fake cop. Usually I try to be funny, have a nursery rhyme, but this one's not funny. There's nothing funny about what's happening. I was exposing the trafficking, the gun running, and drug running. And it became too much of a political liability for the local sheriff, Harford County Sheriff's Department. So he ordered Detective Daddy Bear to shut me down. And all they could come up with was false statement to a police officer, and they arrested me. Everybody knows this. They threw me in the detention center. I was able to get out. And there's a lot more to it. Now, the court for that is coming up September 14th. And it has now finally been assigned to a prosecutor. I don't know the prosecutor's name, although he did call and speak to my attorneys. Now, here's the very, very unfunny part. I was charged with filing a false police report because Detective Daddy Bear and others stated that the little girl was fine. Nothing ever happened. I made it all up for political gain. Well, apparently some pictures of that little girl inside the store, if you know what I mean, have now leaked online. Apparently a lot of people do have a camera phone nowadays. So the question of abuse is no longer a question. It absolutely happened. Now, I was wrong on one point, and I will explain it. I'm the first one to admit when I'm wrong, because no one is perfect. Especially when it deals with something like this. I will admit I'm wrong because I want to be right. These children are suffering. So we're going to go over that. But now Harford County wants to change the charge. They want to throw that charge completely out. Everybody knows it's garbage. They want to throw it completely out, change it 180 degrees the other way. They charge me right now with filing a false police report. That little girl is fine. Nothing ever happened. You lied. Now they know she's a victim. Now they are trying to throw that out and switch it to, yes, she's a victim, and you put her likeness online and exploited her for your own political gain. They want it both ways. First, she's not a victim, and you lied, so we're charging you. Now we know she's a victim, you didn't lie, but you exploited her, so we're going to charge you with that. That's what they offered my attorney. He just laughed at him. He wants discovery because he knows they can't produce any of these records from April 13th. But that's how Harford County does it. Like I said before, they'll lie any piece of crap on paper to have it backed up by the corrupt system and cover their butt. These judges up here think it's their duty to protect Harford County. Not the people of Harford County, just the county itself. And they think they need to protect the county from lawsuits. So they will find you guilty of something just so you can't sue. That to them is protecting the county, not its people. They don't care about the people. Doesn't matter what their oath is supposed to be. What was I wrong about? Okay. I have video too. We discussed that. They have a bigger video from the one camera above it. Now, as I said, I came in. There's a bunch of guys surrounding this little girl and her father at the ATM. I start yelling and screaming at them, get out the camera. They take off. And I got a couple photographs of them in the store, but not the guys, just the girl and the grandfather and father, stuff like that. I then go behind the counter, and I'm yelling at Bill to get them the hell out of the store before I start my shift. So he's screaming. Now, on the police video, the longer one, you can see the little girl standing next to the ATM. Her grandfather's trying to do his thing, and she's wiping her face off. It's disgusting. As I'm standing behind the counter, Bill is screaming at her. The grandfather tells her to wait outside. So she leaves. Now, I'm nowhere near her. I'm behind the counter. I'm 40 feet away. You can clearly see this on the videos, on both of them. So I could not have escorted her out or brushed her off. Now, as I'm standing there, as I said, the people in the back, in the booth section, behind the swinging doors, are miming, pointing, the girl, back here. And I'm like, she's back there? And they're nodding, huge. I was like, then I knew something was wrong. So that's when I started recording. I knew something was up. The part I got wrong was when they said she's back here, I thought they meant where they were standing, the booth area. They didn't. They meant in the big theaters. That little girl was back in the big theaters. I don't know if she's in the booth or not. And as I said before, it was from the regulars coming up and telling me what it was. They told me she's in the back, what she was doing. But she was in the booth area. They were going in and out of the same door they use for when they bring the children in at night. The fire door, because the alarm doesn't work. And I had people coming up and telling me this. So I did get the door wrong, unfortunately, because now there was even more abuse. Now they're in the back where there's sofas and there's a lot more room. But I did have people come up and tell me what was happening. We had a first protest, July 2nd. The little girl was actually in the store back in April 9th, to be exact. The police are saying that I put in a fake police report April 13th. It's not possible. That was an email that got forwarded through multiple states. It's basically a email chain letter that they ended up with a copy of and charged me with. But this is how ridiculous they are. Now, July 2nd, there was a protest at the stores to end this. And shortly after that, July 7th, I think, we had a meeting with a witness and the police. Now, they wanted to ask questions. I wanted to go over what it was. I just reiterated what I told them and what the regulars had relayed to me. And Daddy Bear was very upset. He didn't like me talking to the regulars. And I started thinking about it. I was like, could I contact some of the regulars? Could I get more information? Because some of them have been there for years. So I was able to reach out and contact some. And I was supposed to meet 3 or 4 of them at the store prior to the July 16th protest that was scheduled, the second protest. But Daddy Bear arrested me on July 15th. So that scared him off. They didn't show up, obviously, and I didn't go. And when I was being arrested, he said, I guess you're not going to make it tomorrow. He's like, no, I'm not, dumbass. I could have gotten some names for you. Names of the actual people who were abusing that child. But you saw to it that I couldn't do that, didn't you? Just like you harbor people in Tennessee. Anyway, I was able to contact one of them. I said the others didn't show up. But one of them, I actually know his name. I know where he works. He had mentioned it before. I was able to get in touch with him. Now, he is super gay. Nice guy, who cares? But he's super gay. It was actually not the gay people coming in or the trans people that were messing with the kids. It was mostly married men. But he didn't like any women in the back, especially a child, didn't want anything to do with it. So he's willing to talk to me. He told me what was going on, that she was in the back where they normally have these parties, in the so-called straight theater. And they used the fire door. Bill did go back there twice, and he went through the private theater in the front. And there's connecting doors if you have the keys, which he does as an employee. But he was definitely back there. And they were going in and out of the door. She was also in a couple of cars with men out back. After this was over, when they thought they'd made enough money, her grandfather and her came in the back door and were using the ATM. Now, the police pulled those ATM and bank records. And he tried to access the ATM over 20 times. He had zero money in his bank account, none. That's why he brought the girl in there. They needed money for something. In my video, because it's much closer, you can see him standing there with a wad of cash in his left hand. He's trying to make a deposit into that so they can do whatever they needed to do with the money that little girl just earned by being abused horribly by all those men. So they made it in the back. They went outside, came in right by the ATM, and that's when I walk in the door and go nuts. And the guys are back there, or the guys are surrounding there when I walk in, offering more money for other stuff. They want to make another appointment, whatever the hell it was. I don't care. It's disgusting. But that's what you see on the videos. It's right there. Now, I was nowhere near the child. Bill's the one screaming at her to get out. You can see on my video, it corroborates everything police have. But what the police aren't aware of, and probably don't care, is there are 3 sets of cameras in that store. They got video from one. It corroborates everything. But there's also a video camera set in a parking lot. If they had gotten that one, they could have gotten tag numbers. But they didn't bother with that. There's also an old set of cameras back in the booth area. But it doesn't record unless you set it because it's very old. Each successive owner put a new set in. But she was apparently back in the big theaters. So these officers didn't want to do it. The officer who went in, Bear Daddy's partner, now get this one. Bear Daddy's partner, the one who went in back in April and outed me to the manager, told him exactly what I was doing, who I was, that I was helping the police, and that's when I got poisoned. But that guy, his old partner, when he was back in Baltimore Police Department, his old partner just got arrested last month by the Department of Justice and the FBI for, guess what? Running guns and drugs right there in Harford County. What? And for working with an outlaw biker gang. What a coincidence. Isn't that what I've been saying for months? That's the guy who outed me. That's his old partner from the Baltimore police days. He left the department. He had to, but that guy stayed there. He just got arrested last month. You can look it up. Baltimore Police Department arrested last month, DOJ, for Infamous Riders Motorcycle Club. That's the one he's working with, and they're right there, surrounding the store. What a coincidence. You may recall that I had said on an interview or two that this was where the drugs would switch basically from white gangs to black gangs, and the Infamous Riders happened to be integrated. They're the ones that would take it into Baltimore and D.C. What a strange coincidence. So they wanted all this shut down. And the worst part is they came after me. They deliberately attacked my campaign, but they allowed the abuse to continue. I can take it. No matter how much stress is going on here at home, we can take it. We can get past it because it's crap. The Lord is on our side. They deliberately attacked the campaign because they didn't want me to have any platform to expose any of this. But the abuse has never stopped. Those children are still living like that. And I don't stop while it's like that. I made a mistake. I got the door wrong because of where they were pointing. You walk into a situation like that, you run around trying to figure it out and gather information. That's how you do an investigation. You meet somebody later on in the parking lot who fills in the gaps because they were in the back while the girl was being abused. But the police, they don't do the investigation anymore. They shut it down, arrest somebody, that's it, it's done. They never look into it anymore. Now, this is somebody who's been there for years, knows everybody, can identify people back there with her. But they don't want to know any of that, right? This department, the sheriff's department here in Harford County, has gone downhill so fast in the last few years under this sheriff. Under Sheriff Bain and the sheriffs before that, it was the envy of sheriff's departments across the country. They would send their people from all over the country here to look at how they did things because it was a large department who also ran their jails. How do you do it? How do you manage so much? They wanted to use that model in their states. But now under this guy, it's gone downhill so much that this is the kind of crap that happens. They cover for people. During the second protest, July 16th, they sent deputies to the adult store where this happened to protect them. They said it was because of a noise complaint. And the place was surrounded by deputy sheriffs in uniform so that they wouldn't be harassed. Now you have deputies running around in Harford County harassing everyday people so much. I'm going to include a clip from YouTube of the standard treatment that people get from Harford County sheriffs now, Harford County deputies. And look at that guy's YouTube channel. He has a bunch of them up. It's horrible. It's disgusting. This is how bad it's gone downhill under this sheriff. But what we take away from this is typical Harford County. Lie, make up anything just to shut it down because it's too much of a political inconvenience. Then when they find that images have been released online somewhere that the girl was actually in the store, okay, that it actually happened. Now they have to change their story, don't they? They're not just going to drop it. Of course not. No. That would be them admitting they're wrong and open them up to a lawsuit. Can't do that. Now they want to switch it around to, well, yes, she's a victim, but you put her online. You exploited her for votes. Okay, no, I didn't. I put the story out, and other people emailed. It went all through different states. People were trying to help because the sheriff wasn't doing anything. I never put an image online of that little girl. The only one that went up was on a different website, and her face was always blacked out. Everybody knows this. It was always blurred out. So that's not going to work either. But that's how nasty they are. They're trying to change it around. It's disgusting. There's no way to live. And as bad as it is, it's nowhere near compared to what those children are going through. To this day, they're already, people have already filled in that other children have been brought in at night. Things only stopped for a couple weeks because they love that money too much. The information is accurate. They've admitted there was abuse now. But they want to cover it up just because it's politically inconvenient for the sheriff or because they don't want to face a lawsuit for a wrongful arrest. Not one word, not one concern about that little girl or the children. I find that disgusting. And these people run around wearing a badge. The sheriff has let the place go that much to hell. He's got, how many other phony cops does he have on there? This guy harbored an extremely violent juvenile rapist. There were 2 girls or victims. They were juveniles. He tried to beat them to death, but they survived, or it would have been murder. He's extremely violent. And he harbored him? That's what's going on. There's an update. As always, thank you for listening and very much thank you for your prayers and your support. It is a difficult time, but it's much more difficult for those children. And the people in charge here in Harford County don't give a shit. It's all about them. Thank you again. And please pray. That is a huge help. Sorry, just a quick addendum. The sheriff and these so-called detectives care so little for exposing the actual crime. I remember telling everyone that during this interview with a witness, July 7th, with the Detective Daddy Bear and his partners, that I tried multiple times to tell them about the drugs. And they didn't want to hear it. They stopped me. They didn't care. And just 2 weeks before that, 3 weeks before that, his partner's old partner got arrested. That's probably why they didn't want to know about it. But they care so little that there's actually 2 people sitting in the Harford County Detention Center right now who were involved with the gun trafficking, the drug trafficking, and one of them especially, both of them, yes, but one of them especially was involved with the child trafficking going through there. May or may not be involved with the little girl, but definitely with the children being brought in there on a regular basis. And those people are sitting in the sheriff's own Harford County Detention Center, and they don't care. They don't want to know about it, because if you tell them about it, then they'd have to do something, they'd have to talk to them. These are people that they can certainly find. They know exactly where they are, but they don't want to talk about it. Too inconvenient.